To another episode of Spectrum Uncensored. Today I have with me Aaron from Brisbane. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me,
No
Jamie.
worries. Did you want to tell me a little bit about your business and anything related to that?
Yeah, look, so today officially, I'm here to talk more about Marco Polo. Marco Polo is a new initiative that so I'd say my partner in business and my partner in life, Amy, um, we've decided that through basically a bit of consultation with the community, and through our own experience as being steel providers here in Brisbane, that there is a real need for choice and control. I think everyone really spooks choice and control when it comes to providers and all that sort of stuff, and everyone really wants to focus on it. But I think you see in this sector, that choice and control only really comes out when it's in benefit of the provider. So if it doesn't benefit the provider directly, choice and control kind of just takes the back burner. So basically, with Marco Polo, what we're trying to do is we're really empowering participants and people with disabilities to make the choice about who they live with and who their provider is going to be. And through this experience we've had running this seal company, it just seems that we try our absolute best to make sure that we match people up properly, and it takes a very long time to do that correctly. But the thing is no one really knows a person better than themselves, right? So they should be the ones that make the choice and go, yeah, I really want to live with that person because they have a dog and I love dogs, or that person is really quiet and I really hate loud noises. So I'm going to match up with this person because I think they'll get me and we'll get along really well. And a lot of this stuff is just kind of missed when we do this sort of stuff through the NDIS and through other channels as well. A lot of the personality stuff is really missed when it comes to matching because there's just such complexity when it comes to funding and all that sort of stuff. So basically, the app is really designed for participants to demystify their plans when it comes to funding and who can I actually match with and live with. And then we take into consideration those personal aspects as well, where, at the end of the day, like, you don't care what funding you've got, you just want somewhere to live, and you've been told you have to share with people. You want to know who this person is, so you want the opportunity to chat to them first. You want the opportunity to go, hey, I don't think we're going to match. And to create this platform where you can literally go on, search through, hopefully, when it's all launched, thousands of different people in the platform and go, I think that person's really cool. I want to live with them, or at least give it a go. And to have that kind of platform is going to be better for participants. It'll be better for navigators, coordinators, whatever you want to call them, whatever they're currently called at the moment, and for providers as well, because we all want to bash providers. I bash providers myself, to be honest, because some of us are great, some of us aren't. But it's a difficult job putting people together, trying to do the right thing. And if you can have a platform where people can make their own decisions, it makes the lives of providers way easier as well. So yeah, it's basically why we chose this. Is we think that empowering people with choice, like giving them the choice and control to pick, as well as solving problems for providers, it's just kind of this win-win situation. It's just no one seemed to have done it yet.
It's definitely needed. I've actually had similar conversations with my best friend. Both of our kids, well, she's got two, and they're neurodivergent. My son's neurodivergent. She's got a sister-in-law who's also neurodivergent, and she was having trouble trying to find placement in a shared accommodation setting for her, for that very reason, trying to work out who's going to match. And it's pretty much like a matchmaking service, but not from a romantic point of view, more from a housemate point of view.
Yeah.
And it's something that people don't think about, because I know that, like, my son at his school, when they're creating classrooms for the year, they're taking into account all the different personalities and what people like and are triggered by, so that everyone can work in harmony and achieve their best kind of just achieve their best. But so it is very much needed. And you're right, when it comes to especially disability, there is not a lot of choice in the matter with a lot of things. It's pretty much you're being told what to do, It's very depersonalized. You're kind of treated as a number rather than an individual, and you're kind of placed in that box. So I can definitely see a very high need for things like what you are doing. So it's just amazing that you've decided to, to dive in and try and help as many people as you can. I have a feeling you're going to be run off your feet, but I like that. Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
concept of having pretty much like going online and I don't know, like you get to browse and yeah, just make your own choices because yeah, so often we have that taken away from us.
Hmm. And that's exactly right. Like I think some of the within the sector as well, the innovation is really lacking. And I think trying to innovate but being person centric is a hard thing to do. Um, but there's current platforms out there that you can kind of compare to real estate, basically. So they're really focusing on matching people with
Yep.
properties, right? And we're trying to change that because at the end of the day, you could, like, I've lived in my current living situation's not like, it's not fantastic. I live in a 40-foot shipping container, right? But I live with the people that I love, so I'm happy to be here. Um, and I think the way that it's currently working, where you try and pick a property, it's like, yeah, you could be living in a mansion in Noosa somewhere, right? For those of you that aren't in Queensland, Noosa is a very beautiful beachside suburb. Um, but it's if you're not living with people that you like or being supported by people that you think are the right people for you, that's not going to be an ideal scenario. So I think if we can get people together, give participants more power, especially once they are together and they know each other independently of the provider, it gives people so much more power to choose exactly what they want, and it does. It really it just kind of balances that dynamic more. And I think one of the other things we're trying to really get across with this is that there are a lot of there. There's a lot, we've all heard horror stories about providers, and unfortunately they are true. It's part of the reason we got into silk provision, is because we go, look, this sucks. Why are people being subject to this? Let's try and do something different. And yeah, trying to trying to equalize the playing field, I think, a little bit more for providers as well as the participants, because there are fantastic smaller providers out there. We meet up with a few of them and go, hey, look, we're starting this platform. What do you think? And it's generally the ones that really want to do the right thing are like, this is a fantastic idea. Tell me when it's coming out. I can't wait. And then you speak to some of the other providers who have had their way for such a long time. They just seem to go, oh, but how's that going to affect us? How's that going to affect me? It's not participant centric. And I just think that sucks. Like, it, choice and freedom is such a key thing for my own personal
Yep.
values, that I originally got into this, that I couldn't believe that this was the case. I'm just like, you can't be serious. People are just told. You just have to. But because you've been dealt the cards that you've been dealt, you don't get any choice on what you want, which it sucks. Absolutely sucks. So I think now that we've got better technologies to do this sort of stuff, yeah, why not? Let's give it a
Yeah, well,
crack.
it's almost inhumane, isn't it? It's like human rights are almost being violated by not giving, that freedom of choice. And they say, home is where the heart is. It's all about home is comfortable, home is a safe place. So if you can't even choose where you live or who you live with, how are you supposed to feel comfortable and safe? So I definitely, yeah, I can see where you're coming
Exactly.
from. And so, what kind of got you into this originally? Like, obviously, you've decided to start this particular business to through your experiences with other stuff. But what kind of got you into, I guess, disability advocacy? Really is is where you're at.
Yeah. Look, I will start from the very start. I originally started as a pharmacist, so I've been a pharmacist for 8, 9 years now. Did all that sort of stuff. So my touch points with like the disability sector are actually quite minimal. Um, but I saw it from day to day, and then kind of was trying to figure out more and more around support workers. You'd see people come in and go, okay, what's going on there? And I think I just met with a friend one time. She's talking about the work that she does. We were looking as a side project, looking at real estate. I think a lot of people get into this because they're like, oh yeah, real estate, disability, oh, it's great. And a lot of SDA providers and stuff get into this because of that reason. And we saw it as like, yeah, look, let's try this, because it just seemed, we were originally trying to do like group homes for people that didn't have disabilities. So basically, the number one homeless population in Australia is women over the age of 50. So, which is quite a really, it was not something that I knew about. And we were originally going to start doing these group homes basically for people, so it's more affordable. So yeah, I think our centre nature around people living together is kind of, it's always been on the back burner. But yeah, look, we started as a SIL provider, as a lot of people do, um, because we saw what the sector was like me through pharmacy, and my partner. So she's a social worker and
Yep.
registered nurse. And basically through her social work degree, she visited a few places, a few SILs, and went, Aaron, I need to tell you about this. Like it's appalling. Like I can't believe that this exists. Um, and and yeah, you do hear the horror stories, and you can fully empathise with parents that are like, I can't put my son or I can't put my daughter in with a SIL provider because they just don't care. How are they ever going to like survive? And it's such a scary, scary thing. Like my child is a dog. I can't really empathise, but having trusting someone else to look after your child, to especially with additional needs, all that sort of stuff, it's scary. It is so scary. And it took us doing SEAL provision to really understand how bad it is and how scary it can be. um yeah, so we started the SEAL thing. We started the SEAL company for 4 years ago now. Rough road, absolutely rough road, because you're dealing with this. I talk to people about this all the time. It's really hard, me coming from a pharmacy perspective, right? Whereas you go to a pharmacy and you go, hey, look, I need this, and your opinion's trusted fully because you're a
Yep.
pharmacist, right? Yep, yeah, I know what you've had a minimum education, you know what you're doing. Yeah, I'll listen to you what you have to say. Going into SEAL provision with this lack of education, this lack of standardization, it was mind blowing to the both of us, both coming from health. And I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, and this lived experience thing, and everyone can do it. 100%, I think it's great. But at the end of the day, when it comes to choice, there needs to be a minimum standard, right? So you can have a choice of any pharmacy you like, but you go into that pharmacy knowing that that person is registered, they've done 4-year bachelor degree, and you've got a minimum standard of care. That blew our mind, that in this day and age, with such vulnerable populations, that's just not a thing. It's just could not believe it. And I think when we've learned more and more and more about this industry, about SIL and about home living and stuff, this is when we decided, we're like, look, there's a current sort of, I guess, a mentality around what it is. It's dangerous to do SIL thing. It's dangerous to do SIL home and living. Have other people care for your loved ones. There's a lack of choice and control. There's a lot of like bad actors out there. Um, and we decided, look, we as a team can't just take over SIL and provide great homes for everyone. Like, I'd love to, but it's just not the reality. So I think we sat down and went, look, how can we make a bigger impact to people and give them more choice and control? Because if you give participants more choice and control, it's going to reward better providers. So yeah, we transitioned basically from that SIL space through to the Marco Polo stuff, because we're like, this is going to give way more impact. It aligns so much with choice and control. I think the government are finally understanding things with the review that came out, and I think the way that Marco Polo is going to work, it's really going to tick a lot of boxes for
Yep.
everyone. Um, I'm super excited. I
Me too.
cannot wait for this to be done. I'm checking in with the dev team every day. I'm like, come on, guys, like, how are we going? How are we going? And it's just been interesting, the process of getting this app up and running. You you speak to so many different people and how, like, a lot of people, I think it's 1 in 6 Australians, are impacted by disability in some way, whether it's personally, whether it's, with a family member, etc. And it's just been really cool to get this app out there. Everyone has been very excited about it, and they go, look, you know, it, I think it's something that's been needed for a long, long time. And just hearing people's stories. So like we've had animators for ads and all that sort of stuff, and they go, yeah, look, my sister's got this, like, she's looking at home and living options. This has been our experience. And some people have had really positive experiences, and then others have just had really terrible ones. And they go, look, I wish this was around when we were looking. And it's just like, well, it will be around. You will be able to change providers if your current situation is not great, and this will allow you and give you more power to do that. Yeah, and even in the development team, we've got one guy who's autistic, who's a programmer, so perfect for a person with autism. And he's just like, this is great. He goes, my brother's looking at this sort of stuff. Like I don't need that kind of help at this point in time, but he goes, it's awesome. I'm really excited to be on this project. Like, yeah, it's been a first to have, comparing SIL to now to with Marco Polo. You have to really prove yourself as a SIL provider, because everyone's heard all the horror stories. You're like, look, no, we aren't like that. This is what we do. We are participant centric, and you're constantly battling to prove that. Whereas I think with Marco Polo, because you can see the participant centered nature of it from the very
Mm.
start, people are like, yeah, let's get onto this. Like, yeah, I'm happy to back you. Let's give this a go. I'm really keen to see what happens. So yeah, there's a lot of expectation out there already that I've put onto myself, which um, which is daunting, but I'm excited. I'm really keen to give people that outlet, that platform to really follow on with what the NDIS was intended for, is to actually give people, they spruik it all the time, choice and control. But I'm trying to think of another phrase, to be completely honest, because everyone talks choice and control, and it just the words can't seem meaningless at this point. But
Well, I mean, actions speak
I'm,
louder
I'm
than words,
toying
don't
with
they?
participant empowerment platform.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do,
yeah.
they
And
do.
I mean, my son, he's
Yeah.
non-verbal, so we always worry about what the future holds for our child. So I'm going to be watching and waiting, because ultimately, in our situation, eventually, like everyone, we're going to pass away, and our son is going to be by himself. And you want to, that kind of fear that we have, it's it's really hard to kind of explain to somebody that doesn't feel that fear themselves, because I've often said it's like a bit of a push pull thing. Like, I can't imagine passing away and leaving him behind, but I can't imagine him passing away and leaving me behind either. So it really is, it's one of those, it's a fear you never really think about, because when you're having a child, you expect them to go out into the world. You have a grand plan; they're going to go out into the world, have their own family, and they won't need you anymore. But it gets to a point, in our kinds of situations where, they need you forever, but you just can't help them forever. So that's definitely, we've often spoken about. He's only 10 and a half, but we speak about it all the time. Like, what does the future hold for him? What's that going to look like? How do we prepare him for a future which is inevitably going to be without us one day? So talking about community living and things like that is quite close to our hearts, because that's where we ultimately see our son going, eventually, and not trying to leave it too late to the point where we're like, we can't handle this anymore, we're too old, and then kind of, I guess, jolting him out and pulling him out from one place and plopping him in the other. It's got to be kind of a slow process with most people that are neurodivergent. They can't just be, shuffled from one place to another just like that. So, I mean, it obviously you're catering for like all disabilities. Is anybody going to be eligible? How will the app kind of work?
So the main way that it will work is it is all just about participants. So basically, participants can jump on. There is a basically like a secondary layer. So the participant jumps on, they verify, put in their details. more about them, their bios, all that sort of stuff. And then there's this secondary layer. So you have like a support person, whether that's navigator, parent, it can be a provider in some instances. That's something that we're kind of toying with because we are concerned around things not being representative of what the participant wants. But it allows that person to kind of oversee things and kind of fill the gaps where the participant may not feel comfortable or where they might not ask the right questions or see the red flags,
Yep.
basically. So basically, they sign up as a pair or a package, and they can filter through and go, look, I'm looking in this area. I'm looking to live with people that are like me, or like they can choose down to disability if they really want to, and go, look, I'm an artist. I love Lego and trains, just as a classic example, right? And they go, I just kind of want to live with someone else who's like me, that loves that sort of stuff. And they basically filter down to this sort of level. They go through some of the personal stuff, like really key things that are deal breakers for most people. So like loud noises, smoking, pets, and then whether they're LGBTQIA plus friendly or not, because some people, people have their
Yeah.
preferences. It is what it is. But basically, we've tried to filter things down so that people can pick people that are similar to them. And then that final kind of step is that they can jump on and go, hey, look, I really liked your profile. I think that we'd be a good match. Like, do you want to have a chat? Ask a few questions. The support person can also see this
Yep.
chat. So they can go, hey, look, or like, if something comes across that's not correct or you really want to clarify things, it'll come up and just say, this person, the support person, has said this. And it allows, like, the biggest thing that we see here is that a lot of parents connecting with one another and going, hey, look, I think your son would be awesome for my son or daughter. Let's chat, let's meet up, and that you can meet up off the platform, not a problem whatsoever. We encourage it because, like, through our SEAL provision, we always encourage like a meet and greet, go have a chat, have a coffee, and really just suss each other out in terms of like what's your family like, etc. And we find that when those sorts of things happen, the matches are so much better. So we encourage people to do that. Basically, when people have found one another, based on, unfortunately, we have to do it based on funding levels, ratios, etc. Trying to build that into the app has been so complicated. The NDIS is just it's crazy. But trying to build all that stuff into the app, and then basically, yeah. So you're given the people, if you're a 1 to 3, you're a 1 to 3. You match up with other 1 to 3s. And then once you've found your group, you go, yep, look, we're a group, we want to live together. You'll then go, yep, group bound. That then goes out to providers. So providers are on the platform as well. Not, I want to stress this very, very clearly, not every provider will be allowed on the platform. There is a strict kind of criteria questionnaire that they have to go through that we check on. We follow up with them and just go, hey, we want to ask you these questions. We don't want, like, it will happen, of course, but we're trying our very best to make sure bad actors don't come onto the platform. We are allowing registered and non-registered providers to come on, but we have a duty of care at the end of the day. Is that we don't want people that are not appropriate to be on the platform, and we want to reward the providers that are awesome. We want to give them a platform to be like, yeah, look, we're a small provider, we're very participant centric, we will look after you. Like, you hear of places that charge 80% of the DSP and go, yep, cool, 80% of the DSP, you've got nothing left for your free time because we manage everything. And it works for some people, it really does. Whereas there's other providers that go, hey, look, we aren't renting a house, we buy houses for people to live in. You just rent it off of us. We charge you 25% of the DSP. You do all your shopping yourself. However, that we can do it if you want to. And and the reason people buy houses, or we buy houses primarily, we very rarely rent them. It's only if someone already has a rental, basically, because it becomes more like home,
Mm.
right? So you can paint walls, you can hang pictures, you can have pets. There's no one to answer to. And we want to reward providers like that. Like, we obviously have a bias to the way that we do things, but we have gone out into, gone and surveyed people and gone, what's important to you in a provider? We get those back to how the app actually works. Sorry, I told you I ramble a little
It's
bit.
okay.
um, so it'll go back to, so the providers coming on board, once they've been measured, like, checked out, they'll be invited to come onto the platform. And then in that questionnaire, they kind of have to pick a specialty, right? So they go, yeah, we are really good at intellectual disability, or we're really good at mental health. So they basically get filtered in terms of
Mm.
the group. So if you put your disability stuff in, they go, these people actually specialise in levels like high complexity autism in Brisbane. So we'll basically get the app and go, hey, look, there's this provider and there's two others, and at the end of the day, it's still giving you that choice in provider, because there's three that you can choose from, but it's kind of wading through that sea of providers and making sure that you've got a simpler choice.
Yeah.
You still have that choice, but there's a lot of groundwork that goes into the background to make sure that they're a decent provider. And it's something that we will be actively looking through all the time to make sure that, if this provider, tested really well when they came onto the platform, but then has started performing badly when they've taken on participants, then, they go under review, all that sort of stuff. We're trying really hard to build this as a platform that people can trust, because we're in such an industry where you just feel like you can't trust people.
Yeah. It, it
Um, so
it
yeah,
kind of it seems like there's so many layers to it, and it sounds like you're really trying really hard to make sure that you kind of tick all those boxes, because like most people that have children or a loved one with a disability, especially if they're the carer themselves, we're time poor. Like trying to research, I don't know how many hours of my life I've dedicated to researching so many different layers of so many different things. So I just like, this is just music to my ears, really, because it's just like finally somebody that gets it, and just yeah, all
yeah,
those layers, and just I already feel safe. Like sign me up. So my son's only 10 and a half. I won't
awesome,
move him out
awesome.
just yet. But yeah, it just makes me feel so much more confident in the fact that there's going to be something like this out there, because it sounds like you're doing all the groundwork. You're making sure that even like down to niches, and that's, I mean, even the healthcare system doesn't fully do that. You have to research so much to find out.
Yeah.
I'm currently awaiting an assessment for MS with a neurosurgeon, or a neurologist. But when I went to the GP, I asked for a referral. She gave me one, and then that referral was rejected because that particular neurologist couldn't help me. So I then had to start doing all that research,
Yeah.
going, okay, well, who can help me that specializes in that area? So to not have to go out of your way to kind of do your own research and just be kind of just confident in the fact that this app just completely covers all bases is just amazing, because it's, yeah, the amount of, I can only imagine how much work goes on behind the scenes. But I mean, yeah, you're going
Yeah.
places, I can tell you right now. So it's amazing.
Thank you.
I'm just like super excited now. But yeah, so it's, yeah, I mean, I'm speechless pretty much. That doesn't happen to me often, but
Well, I'm glad. Like, and it is, and this is why, like, and it is hard, like doing this groundwork, trying to set things up. Like, it is difficult work, but to have people like yourself, parents that with people, with young, and yourself, even if you were to, have, instances, if you ever had to go into supported accommodation, and to be like, to have people, yeah, like yourself and people with disabilities. Like, I'm neurodivergent myself. I'm heavily medicated today so that I can have this have this conversation. But um, to have that opinion, like, and go, I think I've actually been heard. Like, and seeing the NDIS review. I originally, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, people have actually listened. Like, it seems like we're getting somewhere we want to, but there was sort of there's this semi backlash group as well, where it's like, you've only spoken to a certain number of people, And that's always a big, it's a big gamble for us as well, because we surveyed people and just said, hey, look, what do you think? Would this work? And it was all quite positive, but we're always concerned that we haven't spoken to enough people. So yeah, to get that, glowing opinion is awesome. Like it really, it's great. Like, because it's always a big risk. Like it's a costly endeavor to build an app. It always is. But it's just something. It's just something that needs to happen, and someone just needs to take the initiative to do it. And that's basically what we've decided to do. Is that this is a passion project for us. Like it'll, obviously, there's costs involved, subscription fees, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, we're hoping that the value that it actually provides to everyone, including providers, is just going to be more than worth it.
Yeah, I feel like even though you only can talk to X amount of people, because I mean, otherwise it'd be a decade before you get anywhere. It's it's one of those
Yeah,
things that there's always things that pop up that are always the same. Like I've spoken to quite a few people now doing what I'm doing, and everything there's so many things that people say they say it in their own way, but it means the same thing, and it's constant. It's not something that's like, oh yeah, the op person says this. So I imagine when you did the questionnaires and surveys and things like that, there was, well, everyone wants human rights. Like I think everyone agrees with human rights, and being
yeah,
treated humanely and fairly. I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh no, we can't have that. So there's always going to be things that everyone has a kind of common opinion on, for the most part. So I
yeah,
think, yeah, it is. You could research and question every man and his dog over the next decade, but ultimately, I feel like you'll you'll get similar answers. It's, yeah, when it comes down to it, it's what everyone deserves, really. So, but yeah, like
exactly,
thank you so much
exactly.
for
Yeah.
taking the initiative to do something like this. It's absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to see it all come out. Have you got a website or anything like that?
So it's currently being
Yep.
built. So I'm pretty tech literate, but when it comes to apps and websites, I can build really basic
Yep.
stuff. But I really want this to be done right. Like, and I think with the layering of the technology and all that sort of stuff, and we want this to be Marco Polo is that professional but quirky, right? So you will see through the website when it is built, and through some of the advertising, we're going to be at the Brisbane developing Australian communities. So we're one of we are the SIL Specialist Hub. It's a mouthful, but we're basically like we're developing, developing these ads that are this different, right? We've seen in this sector, like there's this, I don't know, I don't want it to come off like incorrectly, but there seems to be this perception of like
Mm.
victimization, right? And I can fully empathize with that. The way that things have been, it sucks. Like it really sucks. And what we're trying to do with Marco Polo and some of the advocacy channels that we do have is that we want to empower people in different ways. And it's focused on that empowerment. It's really about it's no longer time. Like people are starting to listen. It's time to fight for what you
Mm.
want. And to do that in a fun way, like to be, it's not like we love you, we care for you, that you can see the ableist kind of mindset with some of the providers. It's just like, we're here to save you, blah, blah,
Mm.
blah. That's not what this is about. This is about you've got the capacity to do this. You know how to do this. You know what you want. Go out and do it. Like here's the tool to go and do that. It's again, then it aligns with my personal values. Someone asked me, Aaron, what drives you? I'm like, I want to help people, and they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, and what does help look like to you? Is giving them something your version of help? And I'm like, well, no, actually, like that's not my version of help. My version of help is I can help you get there to where you want to go, but you have to have the initiative to
Mm.
do so. You have to be the one that wants it. So, and that just kind of aligns with what Marco Polo is that here's the tool. Like I'm going to help you, but you have to show that you want this. You have to go take the initiative to do it, because at the end of the day, that's when people are going to listen. Is if you go, I want this. I'm showing you that I want this. Things need to change. Yeah, that's how everything in society has worked. We go through this stage of acknowledging the problem is wrong, and then going, we want change, we want something different. And I think we're in a very unique part of Australian disability history where the government actually seems to be listening. Like, I'm a massive fan of Bill Shorten. I think he's great. Like, and it might not be a popular opinion, but I actually think he gives a shit. He actually cares. Like, he actually cares. And to see that level of support through government, as well as this technological advance that we can go through, this innovation that we can actually go through. I just think it's a perfect scenario. Really, it is. It's this perfect storm for creating something that is worthwhile, something that people with disability in Australia, but Australia itself can be proud of. Like, we've developed NDIS at its core is a brilliant scheme, absolutely brilliant, right? It just needs a lot of work still, and it needs other innovation other than the government just itself to do that. So we're jumping on that bandwagon. We think that there's light at the end of the tunnel for this, for the scheme and for what's happening. That there can be a new future for what this looks like in Australia.
As highlighted on your Instagram, the NDIS memes, which is where we originally met.
Yes.
Gives me a few good chuckles, but
yeah.
But it's all relatable, isn't it?
And, it is, yeah. And it's like you poke fun at the system, right? Like, it's it's a system at the end of the day. No system is perfect. And we obviously tailor that content for for an audience, and it's to poke fun at it. It's like, yeah, this is broken, but at the end of the day, we're not like a lot of the other platforms, advocacy channels, where it's like, this is my my sad story. While I empathize with the stories, some of the stories we get submitted through that page are horrendous. And again, that was just another really driving factor. We're just like, okay, we need to do something now. But having that platform to be like, this is dumb. Why is it even like this? Like, common sense says, like, that it shouldn't be like that. So let's just poke fun of it. And we poke fun at coordinators and still providers and allied health, and it's just all these little idiosyncrasies that you see. But to have all these people, like, I think we're nearly at 2,000-ish followers now, so which is awesome. Never thought it would get this big. But it's to see that we're kind of on the right track, is like, people are ready to be like, this is broken, let's do something. Never saw myself as becoming a disability advocate, but I was dead set 5 years ago that I was just going to be a pharmacy manager for the rest of my life, and this is just it's fallen into my lap, and we've just tried different things and just gone, look, this just feels right. It feels right.
Well, I'm very grateful that it's fallen into your lap. And, at 2,000 followers, look, there's bigger things to come. I can definitely, I can say that for a fact. I'm backing you 100%. But but thank you so much for your time today and having a chat. It's been absolutely amazing, and I'm so excited to see it launch. So keep in touch, and I'm sure we can do another chat at another time when it's all launched, and see how it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, just let us know. Like, we're all open to feedback. Like Marco Polo, its actual socials and stuff are quite small. We haven't done any cross promotion or anything yet. We're just focusing on app development. But look, if you guys go to the expo or anything, just come say hello, have a chat. We really want to know what you guys want in this, because during development we're still taking feedback.
I mean, we might even be able to do, if you're up for it, a live Q&A or something like that, because I'm sure there'd be people with lots of questions about it.
That'd be awesome.
But thank you so much for your time today.
That'd be awesome.
And I really appreciate having the chat.
Easy. Thanks,
Catch you later.